What is up, guys, and welcome to episode 9 of the Nexus podcast. Today we are back at full force. We have Emmy back from Japan. We've got our champion Cian and the lovely Harry. How's everyone doing? Harry, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Excited to have everyone back. Obviously, we've had a lot going on over the past couple of weeks to where we could hold the fort down without our lovely Emmy here, but nice that we're all back as a handsome foursome. Like any boy band, it's always sad when one of us goes solo. So
absolutely, and we've got some more tournaments coming up, which we're going to attend. We're going to come, well, not all of us, but we're going to be heading across the ocean to see our American friends again. So we're getting prepped for that right now. Cian, how about you? You're not going to America, are you?
No, I can't. It's my new job. But I wish I've been to every single pro tour so far. But no Kinty. But no, it's all going good. Yeah, just I had a week break from Battle Spirits, but now I'll get into the swing of things and testing for Worlds.
Oh yeah. And what about you, Emmy? How are you feeling? You've been away for a little while. You missed a few tournaments, but you had the time of your life, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm good. Good to be back. Good to see you guys. It's been a good couple of weeks. I think the timing was both good and not great. There were so many events stacked together. Obviously, congrats again, Cian, on our last win. And yeah, I mean, I've been catching up. I landed back on Friday. And I've been catching up on everything. It was good to take a break and enjoy Japan, going back. I've been a few times in the past. I used to work for a Japanese company, so I managed to get there, meet some friends. Been to Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. Also, my current company has offices there, so I met some colleagues. It was good. It was very good. Also, this was the first time I went to Japan with like a TCG mission in mind, and TCG eyes. So I noticed much more TCG is part of like their gaming culture. Yeah, for sure. I went to Sea Lab, Yellow Submarine, Super Potato. I got you guys a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna spoil everything, but I'm gonna show you some stuff, and maybe we can edit some pictures of the LGSs I went to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're gonna be on full screen for this little showing, so you can just do what you want with your face.
Just
cover it up if you want,
all over my face. Yeah,
it's just the whole full screen.
But I got you guys a pack each of Battle Spirit.
Ooh.
So I got Josh this one because it has Michaela on, which is I think this is the 15th anniversary, and I got myself one as well. And then I think this one is for Cian, is an Evangelion collab.
Ooh, very nice.
It should be nice.
Set 4, guys. We'll be getting our own collab. Yeah. So that's very relevant.
I've already a set 4 pack, and for Harry, the most like anime pack that I could find, like the most like
striking a pose.
So yeah, so I got you this, and then I got you some more bits and bobs. I went to my favorite sticker shop. What a thing to say. Favorite sticker shop. I have a favorite sticker shop in Japan. It's called B-Side Label.
I'm sure it's epic as hell as well. It's like
it's
the most epic sticker shop in the world.
I got a Gohan for Harry, which is pretty sick.
Ooh, that's really cute. Look at that.
Nah, that's awesome.
SS2J as well.
New Soul Core.
And then I got Josh. I got this Shenron.
I love Shenron.
I know you like your Dragon Ball. Actually, for Harry, because he was asking me for his sleeves, I got him a combo of Gengar sleeves. Which are like shiny.
Flygon as well. Don't forget Flygon.
I didn't even know its name. Flygon. And a Gengar Soul Core as well. Just another sticker.
Very nice.
I got some postcard. Got a postcard for Kieran that is very Japan-like. I hope you
Love
like it.
Nice.
And I opened so many packs of Battle Spirit. It was just like such a kid. Like I had no idea what anything was, and I was just buying everything.
What was the price like for the packs over there? Was it more expensive, cheaper?
It's cheaper, especially because now the yen is quite weak.
Yeah, the
They're
exchange
going
rate, yeah.
through pretty big inflation over there. So like a pack was like as low as 160 yen, 180, which translates into 1,000 is 5. So
Wow, so like
yeah.
50 pence.
yeah, 70
Oh my
maybe
gosh,
1 pound.
I need to go to Japan
It's just like-
immediately.
The packs are pretty are smaller in terms of cards.
Yeah, they normally are with Japanese TCGs. Even Pokemon's the same. It's
Less cards, right?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
cards are so tiny, by the way. Like I knew they were smaller, but like so much smaller.
oh yeah, because
Yeah.
in Japan they
Yu-Gi-Oh
play the
size.
they play the Yu-Gi-Oh Japan size they call it, don't they? So
Super
Interesting.
tiny. And I found this is for Kieran again. It's a Freedom Gundam. This is pretty dope.
Ooh.
Love it. Looks so good.
And I got Josh a yellow card. Let's call it. It's just pretty
my
dope.
new queen.
Exactly. And for Harry, I got a Mashrantala.
Ooh.
Which
yeah,
it has the same
Mactra LT.
Matra LT. A lot of cards have LT. I don't know what that means. But
To use
LT
that in
is
a
like a
proper
rev-
tournament. Yeah,
So-
that's
sorry?
great.
LT cards are like revised versions of older cards, like buffed up a little bit.
Oh right,
it
so
has
they're
the
like
same.
errated or just re-released kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So and then I found this card that is just obnoxious, which we need to find what it does. But it has 6 symbols.
Six
So-
symbols. That looks epic as well. It's
It
like
looks crazy.
But yeah, I mean, did you what else did you see? Did you see any Gundams? Did you do that kind of thing or?
Yeah, I'll put some pictures. So I went to see the Gundam in oh gosh, where is the place? I'll just put it on screen as well. Because I went to Team Lab, which is like an interactive museum, and next to it there was like the life size Gundam statue. I went to the Gundam base in Tokyo. I found this, which is the 15th memorial book of Battle Spirit.
Oh yeah, that looks epic.
That obviously is all in Japanese.
And it sort of starts from the back, right? If people don't know, Japanese literature actually starts from the back and goes forward. It goes in reverse. It might not be the same for magazines, but
It's not the same for magazine. I think manga obviously. I
Or
did
just
want to just
any
show
books.
one thing.
Yeah.
These are like, shoot, it's probably like not showing.
oh yeah, no,
Okay.
there it is. It is there if
Yeah.
you show it from
Yeah,
there.
so this is a player profile with a winner deck, and it's so interesting. So first of all, there is the one card that we know.
Yeah.
Leon. Yeah, Leon.
Son of Leon. And this guy plays 3 Ice Shield, but then if you look at any other deck, they don't play Ice Shield. And I'm like,
Well,
how
remember,
do
aren't
these-
they only 40 card decks, and they got free limit? They've got a limit to 3 per card.
Strong draw. This guy is angry, man. Look at him.
Yeah, it's a limit to 3 per card, Emmy. That's why it'd be running free. So that's
Yeah.
cap. Yeah.
But then no one else runs.
Yeah, I heard from
Ice Shield, which is
Yume
fun.
that the defensive tools in Battle Spirits Japan is just obviously on a whole other level.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
it's probably a thicker net, so to speak, in regards to how many things you got to play around.
Mm.
But yeah,
I wonder
no,
when.
it looks like it was an amazing time, and yeah, did you got anything else to say about the trip, or you just a fun holiday for you, I guess?
Yeah, I really needed it. And then related to Battle Spirit, I think like personally, Utrecht didn't go super well, and I was like very bummed out. And a huge shout out to all of you for like keeping me, good on good morale. But yeah, it wasn't a great time, and so like actually detaching for a couple of weeks gave me time to like think about it, and also like I came back and I just want to play. Like I just realized how much I like this game. So yeah, overall,
Well, that's fantastic
really
to hear, honestly, because yeah,
Yeah.
you were down on yourself because you're passionate about the game, and you you work hard to be at a good level. But I mean, you still managed to get your Pro Tour ticket regardless. So
I did.
that
Yeah.
that as I stated when you were upset about it, that was the most important thing. So
Yeah, that was the goal ultimately. It was just as you said, like you put expectations on yourself, but also it's a card game and there's so many things involved. So we move. But yeah, feeling good and looking forward to Portland. Looking forward to see how Atlanta goes as well.
yeah, absolutely. And on the subject of Atlanta, sadly, I made a huge mistake and I won't actually be casting the show. However, Emmy will be taking up the role for the podcast. So that's already confirmed. That will be announced in the next few days. So yeah, Emmy will be representing the Nexus boys in America. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to catching up on the VOD of that, because I just totally forgot that I was not even in the country. I'm in Barcelona at Dragon Ball Finals. I guess it was just honestly a Facebook post that I posted on, so I didn't really think about the dates properly. And then when I was given the dates, they were given to me in American format, which just confused me further. And then I think about an hour after the announcement, I was like, oh, I can't do this.
That's not gonna work.
However, my friend can, so all is well. That ends well.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it's not working out, but
it's no problem. Honestly,
try.
I'm just glad that they were happy to take you. No questions asked. Really, he was very fine with it, so no problem.
Nice. I'll try to hold up to your standards and your level of casting. But
you better do. You better not let us down, Emmy.
No. And
we'll all be watching.
Looking forward to cast with John, which probably doesn't know yet, but I'll reach out to him.
Yeah, no, he knows. He knows. They all know. I've been in touch with all the guys, so they all know what's going on.
Okay.
But yeah,
awesome.
No, so congratulations, Emmy, on that, and yeah, we look forward to having you represent us in the commentary booth.
Awesome.
So yeah, thanks for the Japan trip report. Really awesome. I've really missed that place. One of my favorite places in the world. It's always been so expensive when I've gone, so the fact that you're telling me that their economics aren't great right now, that's making me want to go even more. So maybe I'll take a trip next year. But yeah, so today we're going to do a bit of a Q&A. We got some questions from the boys chat, which is basically where this whole podcast stemmed from. So we'll just get straight into that. So the first question is from Aaron, a good friend of the podcast. In fact, they're all good friends of the podcast. So I'm just gonna say that now instead of saying it every time. So, what deck and archetype do you most want to see receive some support? And I'm going to start off with Kieran for this answer.
Good, because I already know my answer. Aegis Generals. Let's kind of like actually make that a deck finally.
Oh, you want some of the lore stuff? Nice.
Yeah, I still hate that to this day that they just released. I thought they were going to release a bunch of cards in set 3 for the deck. That's why they were teasing them in the lore set. Turns out I was just wrong. They just didn't make it a deck. So
maybe there'll be. It would make sense if they maybe bring out lore set 2, which will have support and more of the story and stuff. I mean, they've opened it up for that, haven't they? By calling it lore set 01. That means they can just release as many as they want, I guess.
And and if anyone, the unfortunate thing is most of the cards in that product were not the greatest. And in fact, if you go back and watch, I think our second episode or third episode, we did a tier list rating on the cards from the lore set, and a lot of them, the Aegis Generals got quite a low rating. So
we'll have to revisit that at some point to see if we still agree with what we said.
Yeah, I think
we called K being pretty good based.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tokiwa is an amazing card, and it's basically driving archetypes at the moment. K is actually a lot better than we thought it was. It's been very competitively sound. The good boy Falinus, he's
he's one of
the best. He's one of the best in slot now, to be honest. Like, you can't do better than a good boy. But no, in reality, so I think we were fairly accurate with our conclusions on those cards. However, K is really shining at the moment. But what about you, Harry? I know you're not really so much of an archetypal player in my eyes, but if you were to see one archetype get a bit of a boost, what would it be? And by archetypes, I guess we're talking like the type, like, I don't know, Dragonoids or Star Dragons or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's my old school Yu-Gi-Oh training where the archetype trend didn't really kick off until sort of like the early to mid 2010s, but before then Yu-Gi-Oh was very like Highlandery in terms of you have a bunch of one-offs and try to build engines out. But yeah, to that end, like, firstly, I think that the game is pretty fine on that front. Like, I do like the fact that while there are archetype decks, they aren't all that there is, because in a lot of other games it's just like it's only archetypes, and if you don't play archetypes you can't do anything outside of it. I find that a lot more restrictive. But
yeah, it kind of telegraphs the game a bit as well, doesn't it, when archetypes normally you're trying to do one thing, and then if they are the sort of strong decks, then they seem to be it seems to dominate and then make the game a bit repetitive. But or when it's hard coded, like Vanguard used to have it where you could only have like the one clan in your deck, and it's like you wouldn't really have any reason to, for the most part, to do otherwise, but like, oh, you're telling me I can't really. I guess in terms of archetypes and stuff, I think just a bit of embellishment to the ones that are kind of like on the fringe. I think Star Dragons is kind of there in terms of it's the like Big Bang and stuff like that. It's really strong, so you don't want to go too far in terms of like pushing it into being too good. Like if they had a Star Dragon where you could proactively deal damage to yourself for some kind of benefit, the deck would just be insane. It'd be really good. But I think just like a little bit to help out with the earlier game and just those sort of few turns would be good. I would quite like Valkyries to get some support as well. I guess the androids, just to highlight how good Valkyrie Mist is, so we can just get it hit from day dot, rather than like a few sets where like, oh my god, Valkyrie Mist was actually always the strongest card. It's like, yeah, it was there. That's fair.
And then finally Luster, I think, as well. Like, I think Luster, obviously we got Flagellum in this set. It's a very strong Luster creature. I think I would like to see some Luster support move a bit more into the spell realm, because I think like stuff like Gleam of Hope, if you have more cards in that direction which are quite archetypal and spell oriented, then it will sort of naturally blossom into a bit more of an archetypal deck. Whereas right now Luster is like forced to rely on spells from other colors, which makes it a bit more of like a spell value good sort of deck. Whereas I think you could go pretty ham if you have spells that are like conditioned by you controlling a Luster creature to get a pretty good effect. It could be
I mean something I've thought about. I'm obviously no game designer or anything, but I'd really love an angel that changes the color of spells to be yellow. So say you have her in play, like a permanent skill which would make, switch the symbol and the color of, say, Thorn Prison to be a 4-cost 2 reduction yellow card. Just as a kind of way to smoothen out the way it works, with Luster, because like you say, you're very Rainbow-esque if you're picking the best spells. So your Dream Bombs, your Form Prisons, your Volcanic Breaks, and that's off color. And now you've got even more with blue and coming in. Maybe something like that weird that changes
Stage
the
Beast
colour of cards.
Iberyx is kind of like that. So it's a yellow 7-drop where I think during either attack step, your magics will get an additional yellow reduction. Sorry, a yellow symbol in addition to all their other symbols. So they have flirted with that a bit, but the thing that lets Iberyx down is that it's only during the attack step. If it was like, I give my Starblast draw yellow reductions, just cast 50 million Exodia dot deck. But
Yeah, I mean, I think they learnt their lesson from Michaela in the Japanese version being the main step as
OG
well, because
Michaela's
obviously she's only in the attack step as well. But yeah, no, I mean that all makes
But
sense.
shout out to Luster. They've got top 8. I think every single grand open in wave 3.
Yeah, I mean
That's
it's
an amazing
definitely a formidable deck, and something that
I appreciate it.
I'm probably gonna. I mean, I like to play it for fun. To be honest, it's my fun color. And yeah,
now it's competitive.
Yeah, maybe not in my hands, but yeah. But Emmy, what about you? What's your archetype that you would boost if you given the choice?
I mean, if I was given the choice, being super selfish, I think it would probably be the white archetype that I would love to play, which is Mecha, which has some like great cards, and white already has some amazing cards, amazing spells, and spirits, RIP Spider. But there are already some great Mecha. Like, it doesn't need a lot of it, but I just want like a way to be able to play Loki, a way to be able to play Wooden, selfishly, because I don't think it needs it, because I think there are ways to make it work in a mid-range.
Well, surely right now it just needs some kind of draw capabilities.
Yeah,
like,
but
can you imagine if they
Yeah,
that's true. Like, could you imagine if they had a say a white mecha version of Paradise? You know, it would be insane. It would be so broken. It'd be like,
it's just, yeah, you can't do it. But like, maybe there's a way to like use donor to draw, and like, you know, in a perfect world you can make that work and have your Infinity mothership and just have fun. But
I definitely think that thinking outside the box with white will pay dividends if you have the patience to test it and figure it out. I think there probably is ways. I mean, Kieran played pure white control in the top 8 in Liverpool, so you know it still exists. Definitely. Yeah. But
no, 100%. Also, looking at archetypes,
what would you add to mechas if you could? What I mean, don't get me wrong, I know we're not game designers, so it's kind of just like a kind of like a fun question. Like, if you could add one effect to make it all meld together.
I know. I mean, the one thing that would just make any other things like a tutor, a search mechanism.
Oh right, yeah, top 5 for a mecha or something.
Yeah, my search or
To be honest, I don't want filtering in this game. Dragon Ball plays like that, where every card you play searches the top 5 for a certain card in your archetype, and it's so telegraphed. There's no, you know exactly what's happening when it's going to happen. So I feel like it's better to have that like randomness a bit.
Yeah,
adding cards from your deck to your hand is rife with cheating as well. It's why Yu-Gi-Oh is the most toxic, scummy community, is because gold suck off this shit all day, and then just you're having to cut each other's decks 50 times.
Yeah, I don't want to be shuffling my opponent's decks every turn, like 3 times a turn. In Dragon Ball, it's literally like that. There is literally decks where they will filter 3 or 4 times a turn, so you have to just keep passing your deck to your opponent. And it's...
Okay, never mind. I take that back. Actually. One last thing before we move on, it was looking at archetypes. It's so funny like how many extra archetypes are, and like green has Wild Soul, like Sheeply, the sheep, the 1 cost with 1 reduction is a Wild Soul. So maybe what we need is like Wild Soul support, and we just play a Wild Soul deck, you know.
Well, you could just play it now and just have the one spirit, and then
Yeah, just I'm just a wild soul.
The winner's Buffalo Bill also has its own unique misprint archetype because it says giant / beast instead of giant beast on it.
Oh, really? That's
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah. We didn't
I didn't
notice
know
it
that.
until really late, and it's only on the winners one as well. I think not the ones you get as the event pack or whatever for entering the tournament. It's only the gold one that has the misprint on it. So
That's so weird. How strange.
It is very weird.
It's like that someone added that in or something. But yeah, so we'll move on to question 2 from our good friend Marv. Hope you're doing well, Marv, and thanks for contributing. He asks, how long do you expect the game to still be relevant / existent, and how do you think the pricing will change for Season 2? Okay, I've been quite outspoken about this at the tournaments and on the podcast. I'll be quick about my answer, but essentially, I think that they will double down. I think they will put another £1 million up, $1 million, or $930,000, but that's another story. And I think they probably have planned to from the start. They're not silly. They know that if they remove the prize money, then it's going to really put off a lot of the player base. So yeah, in my opinion, I think they will double down, and maybe they'll even improve the pricing. They will be planning to grow the game, and so I don't think there's any way they revert it back. I think we have at least another, I'd say 3 sets is guaranteed, 4 to 6, and most likely we will get 7 to 9 as well. I think they will go at least 3 years with a plan. There's a lot of ways of looking at how they're potentially trying to, do this game. And there's a lot of reasons why it wouldn't matter that Bandai would lose money on the game, with growth in mind. There is, in business, there's lots of routes with tax and stuff like that they can use to offset losses. So I think anyone that's saying the game's dead, the game's dying, just don't listen to them. I think this game has longevity, and we will keep the pricing going at least another 3 sets. But obviously that's not guaranteed. They might just commit suicide and be like, okay, so now you guys are paying us to play, and all you get is promos. That could be what happens, but I very much doubt it. They're not stupid. They have good advisors in people like Danilo, who have spoken to a lot of the players. They know what they're doing. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Harry? What do you think about the future relevance of the game?
Yeah, I would be very excited for next year when they reveal the £1 million pricing with a big asterisk on it, where on the bottom it says, if you're in the EU, you lose 10% completely. It's for no explainable reason. Like, sure thing, 90% of the advertised pricing is still pretty good, I guess. But yeah, that's a separate thing. I think,
we'll discuss that shortly, I think, after we've done these questions, because it's something that's outraging a lot of people at the moment.
It's a topic in and of itself, for sure. But yeah, little joke aside, I think, yeah, you're right. Like, I would agree with you. And I think that if you're analyzing the performance of Battle Spirit Saga as an individual game, it's probably underperformed relative to what they would have expected. But I think that for a large company like Bandai, which has a bunch of different games and a bunch of different things, they're more likely to see things in groups. Like, they'll have a TCG portfolio and a video game portfolio and various other things. And Dragon Ball.
One thing they don't have with Battle Spirits is the licensing costs. Okay, and licensing costs are a massive part of the budget of, say, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Digimon. They don't have these charges, and I would hazard a guess. I mean, I'm no expert as far as publishing and stuff like that goes, but I think they probably pay a lot more than $1 million to have the rights to make a One Piece card game, for example.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
And that's probably why they've put so much into Battle Spirits in that respect, even though to the consumer you're like, well, I've never heard of this, but then you look into a bit more and it's like, okay, well, this is their IP, so they're gonna want to try to keep it afloat if possible. So
realistically, I mean,
I wouldn't doom to.
There's no way that they printed this game and they were like, we're going to give it 1 year, and if it doesn't take, then we're going to drop it. There's no way.
Exactly.
They've definitely got a 3 to 5 year plan where they expect, they want growth. And I mean, you can see it. Bringing Evangelion in for set 4, they're trying to go wider with their collabs. Obviously, collabs is a big thing with Japanese Battle Spirits. And maybe they just need time, and I think they have it. I think they definitely have it. But more to your point, Harry.
I guess it's I agree with everything. I think the only thing to really, or the main thing to keep an eye on is just the yen. I guess like if the Japanese economy is going through a difficult time, then so too will Japanese companies, and that might force changes of plans. And if they were going to drop a card game, obviously Battle Spirits is the worst performing one, so it would be the first on the shopping block.
One other thing to keep in mind is the development guys and the guys that we meet at the tournaments, they actually work on Dragon Ball and other games as well. Then they're not specifically hired for Battle Spirits. So I think in a way, it's just a part of the day-to-day for that side of the company to have Battle Spirits going. So the other thing is that they have lots of artwork, they have lots of pre-made game design. A lot of the time, the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've heard that from set 4 onwards, we will start getting some more unique arts, which are unique to Saga. But in reality, they have a lot of material that they can just pump out. So
just
what
make
do
the
you
game
think,
for it. Yeah, no, not much to add. If only the fact that obviously when a new game comes out, like there is like the hype and like something new, so a lot of people might jump in and try, and then maybe it's not their thing, and they don't continue, and then they get interested again down the line. So like I think I wouldn't look at the health of the game like in a silo of like, oh, how many players are playing right now. Obviously that's an indication, but also there are ways to get new players as the game grows, and being new I think is a strength of the game, because for new players it doesn't take that much to get into the game. The pool of cards is not that huge, economically is affordable. So I'm very optimistic, and as well as hopeful. But yeah, Kieran, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I said in a previous recording episode, but I'm from a community of like niche, smaller card games in total. Card Fight Vanguard, Buddy Fight, Force of Will. These are all games that, I mean, like Force of Will, probably barely anyone's even heard of it. It just celebrated its 10th year anniversary, I think, last year, for example. Buddy Fight, again, another game that wasn't too popular. I had like 40 to 50 men regionals, and that was free entry. That lasted 6 to 7 years. So I think overall, like when you see all this, I don't think Battle Spirits is going anywhere soon. And Josh mentioned as well, when it comes to costs of keeping the game up, it's not that bad. Licensing cost is not there. They reuse a lot of artwork. They're not afraid to. I know all the X-rares in set 3 were originally art made, but I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, we're here for the long haul. Personally, I don't play Battle Spirits just because of the cash prizing. I play it because it's fun. The cash helps, obviously. I know some people have said that they will stop playing the game if the cash prizing gets reduced or goes, but I think as a tournament, as a card game producer, you have to ask yourself, is that really the audience you want to attract as well, permanently? So I'm quite hopeful about the game's future as well. So.
Yeah, no, I think I don't think the game's going anywhere really, and I think Bandai have everything in hand. What I'd like to see moving forward, I'd like to see they just need to crack locals, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some locals like Kieran's locals in Croydon, very popular. There's one in Northampton, pretty good. There's one in Manchester which does all right. It's a bit far for me to travel though, unfortunately. But there are it is building. But if they can find a way to encourage more people to come across from other games, I mean, that's what it boils down to at the end of the day, the oversaturated market. There's only enough time in the day, there's only enough money in your wallet.
Yeah. Maybe actually we can do our part, like if you're watching this video and you're going to locals, just put where you're going in the comments. Let us know and see if any other viewer might, see they might have not heard about that local and that it happened to us before. So yeah, leave us a comment, let us know like where you play.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to say, I think one thing that doesn't help too much, and I mean, I know the Facebook groups are cracking down a lot on this, is all the doom posting. People always like to be vocal when they've got something to complain about, even if it doesn't benefit the group at all. Someone screaming Battle Spirits is dead in the Battle Spirits group doesn't contribute to the community at all.
No, I mean, it has the opposite effect, right? Like if say I'm just, for example, if I was looking on the internet, I got interested in a new card game, and then I find the social pages and it's just doom and gloom already. I'm instantly going to do a U-turn. It's just human nature, like.
And it's always a salty loser making posts like that because they scrub a tournament and they're like, "Ooh, it must be the game. It must be the game that's bad." And it's like, bro,
it's just me. It's me on my alt accounts.
Well, I remember one point I want to say is I've actually had a few messages from people who've been watching the Nexus podcast, and they live in the London area, and they've asked me about coming down to my locals. So I think next locals we're gonna have quite a bigger one. I think Emmy is bringing him and his friends. Some people who've messaged me on Discord who are just viewers of ours have said, where in Croydon is it, or where in London is it, and they're gonna come down as well.
Oh, wow.
We've also had someone come in, I think 2 weeks ago. His name's called Toby, really nice player. He's never played a physical TCG before in his life, and Bowspris was the one he saw and wanted to pick up, so we've been teaching him the game ever since.
Wow. So I mean, the game is obviously setting in, and we just have to be patient with it as consumers and do everything we can to support. This is why we do the podcast. We are trying to help build the community. And obviously, if people are going to your locals, Cian, off the back of seeing the podcast, we're doing it right. So, yeah, I mean, everyone in our position that's promoting the game has a level of love for the game. So I think it will have longevity, and I'm not too worried, at least for a few more seasons. The boys' party time will not die. But we will move on to the next question now. This question is from Alberto. What do you think about the store promo kits? Should it have fewer but more relevant cards? And I'll just take the lead with the answer, and then we can pass it around like we have been. I personally think the kits are great. I would prefer if they had 4 copies of every card in the kits, but now there's 6 colors. That's not possible. It was like that for set 1, so it was easier to get your axe biters and such, but now it's a bit harder. It's nice that they are giving judge cards out. I'm a qualified judge for the game, and I facilitate the tournaments and get judge cards for it. And I highly recommend if anyone is interested in helping facilitate the tournaments, because the store owners don't know the rules and stuff. You need someone on the ground that's willing to take control of the rulings and the times and make sure everyone. I do it in my locals, and we're not very busy at the moment, sadly. I want to try and change that, but I've always made sure that we've had the correct promos and everything, and everyone gets what they're offered. And in the kits, they do have a set of judge cards. So yeah, I encourage you to get your judge test passed and contact your local game store and basically say, look, I will help you facilitate this. Just give me the judge cards. And they should do it. There's no reason why they shouldn't. But yeah, no, I think if you make the cards too good, you run the risk of inflation on that certain card. Dragon Ball's been really bad for this. Like, they had cards which were like staple level in these kits, and they would become like £50 cards, which is obviously very toxic. It's not kind of what we want from Battle Spirits. But I think if they can balance it out, not maybe put 1 or 2 cards which are game breaking in. I think they've got a decent middle ground. But that might be one way to get people into the stores if they made every card absolutely broken. You know, from the kits where they're all necessary. You know, maybe that would kick it up a gear. But no, I think they're in a good place at the moment. I think it's just a case of, I don't think the kits are the problem with getting people in. But what about you guys? What do you think, Harry? You're someone that doesn't really go to locals too often. What in the kits would encourage you to go more?
Well, yeah, I guess from the perspective of the question, if there were Glizzier cards available, that might be an incentive. But I guess it comes down to the overall nature of incentive and what you're going for. And I think ultimately the scene just kind of needs to grow before anything else. Like right now, it's like you go to a locals and there's like 4 to 8 people, and they're mostly people who you already speak to and can play online and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know if them changing the store championship stuff, like it's quite nice that sometimes they'll pick out cards that are a bit niche and maybe you won't think too much of right now. Sorry, they can get a bit better over time. Like I think stuff like Dragonaga Assassin and Grey Garma were pretty good for that store champ slot. Like I don't think it needed to be.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
too much better than that.
I think just for clarity, Alberto's referring more to the sort of like Axe Biter and those cards. You know, the cards that are specific to the tournament
then
kits.
In that case, yeah, I think it's difficult if you make them too strong, because then people need them and they won't be able to get them once they're out of print. Yeah. Like Dual Eagle now, for example, it's like everyone's playing Fable Beast, but it's like there's only a handful of Dual Eagles because they're TP, then it's gonna shoot them up. So yeah, I think stuff like Dual Eagle and Black Lance are probably the sort of maximal power level where you want them to be. You don't want it to be like Axe Biter, where it's just like the game's best card as a tournament promo. But I mean, that will get people into the stores. But
in set 3, for example, for the promos, are there any cards at that level? Is my question.
Not really. Like they're okay. I'd say, I guess off the top of my head, the most relevant promos aside, like it'd be like Axe Biter, Black Lance, Dual Eagle, Scopal, Tin Soldier. It's like those are, and Tin Soldier I put there, you know, for personal reasons.
I mean, Tin Soldier's a great card. There's no denying it, really.
It makes sense given that set 3 was a bit more impactful of a set in terms of the cards released within it compared to like set 2, where, you know, it's barely much impact from most of the cards in the set that they would have decent promos.
In retrospect, it was kind of like a bit of a filler set 2. And I guess that was reflected with how it kind of bombed a bit and the prices.
Yeah.
What about you, Cian, as someone that's probably won 90% of the locals he's gone to, if not more? I'm pretty sure you were unbeaten, aren't you? I could be wrong.
I lost the very first locals because it was best of 1, and then ever since it's been better 3, I've won every since. So still undefeated at Play Nation, but that might change as of next week. We'll see.
People are coming to take your crown.
I'm coming for revenge.
Yeah. I think it's what Harry said as well, pretty much. Like, if you make tournament promos too strong, it's not very accessible for new players, and some people just don't have the locals. I mean, yes, I know you can go and buy over the internet, but we don't really want to resort to that pretty much all the time. But at the same time, I mean, I just like collecting store promos, even if they're like really bad. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always try and collect the full sets myself. I like to have 4 of every card just in case they suddenly become relevant, you know.
Like I remember when it was the set 1 TPs, Harry, Anthony, them lot, they would go to many locals as possible, just grind out packs, grind out promos, and that was really fun to see people do. But yeah, I think he summed it up really well, so I don't have too much to add. What
about you, Emmy? Do you believe that they should make it so it's quality over quantity in the kits, or do you think it's a good balance?
I think it's a good balance. I personally would love to see like some alt arts exclusive for locals.
Well, they do have the. I know it's only one card, but they do have the All Art Ice Shield with Genbu on it, which is specifically for sealed tournaments, which I doubt has been too popular. However, I mean, I give them out as extra winner cards in my locals.
Wow!
You know, because why not? They're there.
Yeah.
The promos are there to encourage players to come back, so it seems the best bet.
No, I actually saw that card in Japan, and like they have at these card shops, they have like huge windows with like single cards, which is really cool. And they had I think so Ice Wool. I need to double check, but yeah, it has that art.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of all arts as well. I mean, they give them in the store champs, and the all arts are actually really good. They do look a lot better than the originals 9 times out of 10, in my opinion. But yeah, so we'll move on to the next question. So Jamie, the Soul Core himself, has asked. He says he would be interested to hear what our thoughts on dual symbol cards are. And sorry, I need to read this question a bit clearer. So, yeah, I would be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on how dual symbol cards are going to impact the state of the game, given how much double heart we've already seen through set 3 tournaments. So, yeah, what do you guys think of the impending 2 damage strikes that we're going to be having to deal with in the meta moving forward? Start off with you, Kieran.
I love it. Straight away simple. My biggest complaint of Battle Spirits early on and set 2 was it was a bit slow, a bit grindy. I feel like the game could just pick up the pace. It wasn't a very fun spectator game. Set 3, and we'll get onto discussion of set 3 meta, I think, in the next question or so, but like with the release of like Feng 1 and Double Heart, I mean, yes, sometimes they can kind of suck to lose because they're so strong, but I think just having cards that deal multiple damages, it now changes the way like the game has to be played. Like if you know your opponent's playing Double Heart, you can't go down to 2 life and rely on Ice Shield. You have to stay at 3 life. If you're playing against Gale, you have to stay at 3 life, and even then, Feng 1's gonna still burn you for 1 per Ice Shield you've got set. And also, let's not forget that double symbol also counts as double reduction while it's on the board. So that's going to be quite interesting as well. I'm looking forward to the...
On that note, why do you think that Nebula hasn't really done anything?
I mean, you could...
Obviously, that's a two symbol dragon, and it only needs the Soul Core on it, I believe, to have that.
It has seen some success, actually. I think in last Pro Tour, I think Primitive did top 16. Or maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, he was playing Nebula with like a Torn Prison kind of combo. But yeah, sorry,
I think it's because I think it's just really because it's too it's too obvious when you're going for it. Like what makes Double Heart really scary is it's a flash, so it just you know, you deflate your flashes. Comes out of nowhere. Feng 1, it's just a ridiculous card, so that's not even the reason why Feng 1's even played. It's just the 3 power-ups of text into 1. I think Nebula Dragon's actually still quite good, but
I mean, I think it's great, but in reality, maybe we've had 1 or 2 tops, but considering it's a double symbol card, we haven't seen it like dominate, which makes me think that it's gonna be more balanced than it reads on paper in reality. Because just thinking that everything's double symbol it's quite a daunting prospect in reality. I mean, obviously,
they're probably gonna have like tribute.
Go on.
They're probably gonna have ascend costs and stuff attached to them. Because we haven't seen ascend for I think all of set 2 and all of set 3. I think it's been a set 1 mechanic and that was it so far.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe because it is quite an expensive cost in reality because of just how the game is. But yeah, no. What about you, Harry? What do you think about double symbols and all that kind of thing? Is it spice or is it just gonna be business as usual?
It could be very cool. Yeah, obviously. the Japanese game is a bit difficult to compare to, and they have like a bunch of 0 drops that can attack and all do double damage. It's like, oh, okay. No wonder no one plays Ice Shield.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I guess it depends on the card. I think like in terms of what they've released so far, it's been well managed in that they're top end cards, first of all. Like they aren't cheap things to come down, which is a good way to just test the relevance of the mechanic in general. And I think the fact that we've seen a bit of double heart cropping up, despite the fact that it's a 7 mana spell, does speak to the power of just being able to gotcha your opponent like that. Fuenghan is obviously like it's got a few contexts to it, and the double attack element of it makes it a good top end. But obviously it's a Highlands target. It's got a bunch of other things going for it.
Do you think it will affect the landscape of the game? You know, like the way everyone plays. I mean, it basically means that taking early damage is no longer really it's not something you can just be so flippant with. Because a lot of the strategies in this game I'm finding cool for you just to take the 2 free damage, ramp up, you know. But now, if it's the impending threat of double damage is so going to be so relevant, kind of makes you think maybe I need to be defending myself from turn 1.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll start, you know, like ice shielding to stay on 3 life instead of going down to 2, and maybe even random fleek counter sword to proc yourself back into heal is yeah. I think it'll open up some stuff, but hopefully they'll drop more defensive options alongside it. Like they don't have to be ice shield tier it'd necessarily, but if you're gonna hammer up the
it'd be cool
offensive
to get
output,
like
then...
magic, which like this. I mean, I'm just pulling things out of my head right now, but say for example like a white spell that removes an extra symbol on a card, or removes 1 symbol from the attacking card, you know, maybe rendering the attack void because it doesn't have a symbol, or reducing it to 1 symbol, something like that could be interesting, like a kind of utility. What about you, Emmy? What do you think? You love your white control, so double symbols is obviously something that's going to be a pain for defensive strategies.
Yeah, no, I agree with Kieran though, because I think I'm not a fan of like super aggro strategy. Like I don't want a game to last 3 turns, but at the same time I don't want a game to last 50 minutes. So you know, if we get to a state where, you know, you can build a deck that has those double symbols and you're able to find the right line to close it in like 7-8 turns, so like puts like a big emphasis on like the execution from the player, that I think is where it's gonna get to. Actually in Japan I saw some double and triple symbol cards. There was like a Godzilla card that costs 30 and it has 3 symbols. So maybe you can play it as a top end in your Gale deck, you know. Yeah, no, overall I'll be, you know, welcoming those cards for sure.
All right, so we have one more question, and then we're going to just have a little bit of a discussion after that, regarding some points that are relevant. But yeah, this one's from Cian, Cian in some circles. Sorry, bud. Sorry, bud. I shouldn't have said anything. Given the wide diversity of decks we're seeing from the recent Grand Open, do you think that the meta is fine compared to previous sets? If not, what decks would you like to see out of the meta, and what decks would you like to put in? Putting in decks might be difficult for us because we can't design a full archetype, but I think it's great. I think the bands have really done a great balance. You know, a lot could be said for Volcanic Breaks Limit, stuff like that, but I mean, in reality, the game is very diverse at the moment. People are being creative. There's a lot of freedom with decks. I think there's a lot of, it's kind of luck based because it's such a circle where, you know, your deck will be good against 4 decks, and then one deck it will be a guaranteed loss, another deck you'll be scraping 50-50. I think every deck has that right now. There's no decks that are like, this deck will win every game guaranteed. And for me, you can't really get much healthier than that in a card game. There isn't even a deck actually that, I mean, don't get me wrong, we've seen large numbers for Fabled Beast, we've seen large numbers for Gale and stuff like that in the tournaments, but there isn't one specific deck that a majority of the field is gravitating to. So yeah, no, I think that they've done very well with the balancing for set 3, and long may it continue. Really, like, I mean, as far as we have been told by Danilo, because we had a little discussion. I had a little discussion with him at the Pro Tour. He essentially said, "I'm not worried about Gale ramping. I'm not worried about anything, actually, because I've seen how strong the cards are in set 4 and 5. So if you're worried about these cards, you've got another thing coming, guys."
Yeah.
So I think we just have to take a seat, get comfortable, and enjoy the ride. Really enjoy the stupid cards that will be coming, and just know that they are working. They will work diligently to make sure that the game is fun for everyone, like they already have. But yeah, as far as, I mean, adding a deck in, I would just say, I mean, I don't think they need to change anything. I think they've got it actually at a nice level, and I'm really excited to see how the game progresses as they add more elements like double strikes. But what about you guys? Do you guys have differing opinions, Kieran?
No, I love this meta. I think this is one of the best metas.
I bet you do, champ.
It's actually really ironic that I'm saying that, of course. I think when I look at this meta and I compare it to the last meta with Axe Spider Devs, that meta was so miserable. Games were going to time non-stop. They were very sluggish, very controlling, very boring games. I mean, this is now, every deck is like, actually, I mean, at Liverpool, there were 7 unique decks in top 8. I think that says all you need to know.
Yeah.
Luster got to the finals. Gale got to the final. This first ever finals of both decks. In the previous 2 Grand Opens, Purple Core Control and Red got to the finals. Like, we could just go on. Even White Control made a resurgence back in Liverpool. I know people, I've been a bit vocal on it myself about maybe Nexuses are a bit too strong in terms of, like, for some decks, the Nexuses are like the majority of the deck. But I don't think we need to whine and ban or limit something every single set. Set 4's around the corner. Let's enjoy it and see what comes out of it. But I'm very happy with this meta personally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're happy with it because you're a champion. Emmy, what about you? What do you think? How are you thinking about the health of the game as we are, I guess, kind of midway through set 3 currently?
Yeah, no, I agree, especially if we consider the fact that this is the meta that we'll need to play up until Worlds. It will be very sad if it was at a X-Spider depths level, but we are the opposite side right now where, I think the best indication was actually the last Grand Open in Liverpool. So you're at a place where deck building matters a lot and picking is super important, to the point that, like, for example, in Utrecht, I picked White Control because, like, the expectation was yellow did well in Pro Tour, so people will expect yellow, so they will play red to push yellow out, and they will play Gale, so I'll play white. But I went one step too further, I guess,
You were ahead
because
of your
people
time.
were playing yellow still, because it did well and it's super strong. But this is just to say, like, then going to Atlanta, going to Pro Tour, like, we have this, this meta game where it's like, okay, which color do I pick, and then how do I deck build? Like, it's super challenging, and I love it absolutely. So
yeah, I mean, and the fact is that you could build the perfect deck, and then you could run into, say, 3 red matchups if you were playing yellow.
Yeah, exactly,
like I did, and it doesn't feel good. But again, that's the circle of the game. and in a way that is a healthy prospect because everyone can make a deck which can potentially win. What about you, Harry? You're a deck building lover. How do you feel about the current meta?
I think this is probably my favorite iteration of what Battle Spirits has been so far. Like, I did really like the set 1 meta. I thought it was a very deep meta, despite it being only one set. But the sort of power pillars were quite in place very clearly. Like, you knew after a week or two of testing that Infernal Bacillus was sort of the cornerstone of what decks could do that format. Things like yellow were pretty kept out, just due to the way that the matchups aligned against most matchups overall. So while early on the game was still fun, it was a bit imbalanced in some ways, whereas I think now like every deck has a shot. And I do think it's very well balanced between the sort of decks that you can just pick up and play. Like, I don't think you need to develop a deep or creative deck in order to do well. You can just show up with like a pretty normal Fabled Beast or a pretty normal red or a pretty normal Highlands or pretty normal control white, pretty normal soul control. The only thing that's sort of still left to be defined is blue, but that's natural as it's only just come out. So it is accessible enough to people who just want to come and play quite quickly without having to do all that mad work. But then if you are gonna do all the mad work, it's very rewarding and very deep. Again, like I've had a bit of exasperation approaching set 3 just because of how much more you can do now compared to previously, which does mean that you have to test a lot more and stuff. But that layer to the puzzle is what makes it very interesting compared to other games where it's quite clear what you're able to do pretty early on. Like, I've been playing a bit of Hearthstone again just to pass the time, and it's just like, okay, I just have to pull the legendary and then build the deck that the legendary tells me to build, and then that's it, and that's all I can do. Like, I can't do too much outside of it. So yeah, not Hearthstone. Battle Spirits is very rewarding in that respect. And yeah, I think like minor balance tweaks are quite natural, and like over time it stands to reason that you'd be like, oh, Paradise is a bit too much, like, let's do something to it. Or, oh, Highlands is a bit strong, let's do something to it. Or, oh, Nomengard is a bit strong, let's do something. Whatever just becomes a bit too prominent at the time, it's easy to tweak, but overall it feels very nicely situated right now, I think.
All right, so that's basically it, guys, as far as the questions. So thank you all so much for your questions from the chat. We love you guys. Like I said, that WhatsApp is the origin of this podcast and the inspiration for us to join together. So yeah, I have a couple of more talking points. Well, actually, we'll just go to question time on the round, and because we've basically got time to discuss one more point, and I'm gonna throw a little spanner in the works and basically ask you guys, what are your thoughts on losing 7% of your prize money for each of the tournaments you've played in Europe? Obviously, you guys have all placed pretty high in tournaments, so you're very relevant people to talk about this.
We've all been finessed, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got prize money as well myself, and I've also been taxed on a few of the tournaments lately. Not as significant because it's a smaller amount, but yeah, no. What are your thoughts, Harry? Let's. We just had Harry talking. Let's ask Kieran, the champ that's destined to have a percentage taken from his winnings.
7%. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's an interesting topic. You enter a tournament, and I will say, like, at the end of the day, I'm one who's not too fast. If I lose an extra 100, I don't mind too much. Obviously, we'd rather have the full amount. I think what makes it feel a bit worse is, for example, at the most recent event, the Liverpool event, the entry fee was £35 just to enter the thing. So when you're losing hundreds, it can suck a little bit.
I mean, just for clarity, that did include entry to an expo, yeah. So you didn't just get you got to look around the expo, and like I said, last week I did the whole Star Wars thing. So I mean, you got a bit more for your money, but still.
Yeah, but so some people have heard back, because I know some people did send an email off to Bandai and Danilo about what the issue, and they have heard back as of today. And there is a clause. It's like Chapter 11 in one of their clauses that does say that the prize money can fluctuate depending on certain things. So it's not like they're doing it for no reason. There is a clause, as you would expect in a big corporation, to back them up on that. Yeah, I mean it sucks, but like it doesn't stop. I'm not gonna just stop attending and stop playing, right?
Is it a deal breaker to you, like that 7%?
No, it's not a deal breaker. I've been on the, I've been shafted off like $500, $1,000, and soon to be 7,000. Yeah, like it is what it is. Yeah,
I mean,
I don't mind.
There's two ways to look at it, really. I guess you can be, happy that we've got the opportunity to earn these prizes, but at the same time, I think the issue with the community right now is the level of transparency, I guess, and the fact that it's changed, because we had previous tournaments like Pro Tour in New Jersey, for example, that there was no taxation on the prizing for that one. So
I will say, I mean, with the New Jersey trip, I actually went just over. I mean, I was in the green just about. If the 7% was in place back then, I would have been in the red. So that would have changed probably something. Yeah.
What about you, Harry? You've got thoughts and feelings on this subject? Being a serial winner.
Well, yeah. I mean, it isn't great, is it?
You didn't get tax on the prizing for
a launch event,
for example. Yeah. So
how
do you feel that it's suddenly being implemented now?
I think it largely depends on the reason, and I think we've reiterated, like, the main point is transparency. Like, it doesn't feel great because they already take quite a long time to pay out anyway. Like, it's quite common for it to run over the 6 to 8 weeks that they advertise. For the most recent Pro Tour, I was surprised that they've paid out so quickly.
Shout out to Danilo, the best TO in Battle Spirit so far. What a guy.
He is very good, yeah. But yeah, in the tournaments preceding that, like, the payouts were often late, and then on top of it being late, when you've not heard anything, you get less than advertised, I guess, which you also weren't expecting. So I think to that end, again, obviously we have the WhatsApp group. Some people feel very passionate about it, and they will send emails to whoever's relevant to chase it up. And the feedback that we got back from that was that it's to do with the yen, and as we're aware from this pod, the yen isn't doing too hot, and so the prize money is reduced. So we were fine with that, even though obviously it is an inconvenience. It's an acceptable inconvenience. But then it also turns out that during the same period in which we were being underpaid, the US tournament winners weren't being underpaid, which shouldn't be the case if the reason is the currency fluctuation with the yen. So I think that it would be helpful to us as the players if a clear, transparent reason is given. Again, like, it doesn't or shouldn't affect most of our lives too much. Like, you would hope that, we're young men who have their stuff together, so to speak, to where it isn't going to be the end of the world. But at the same time, especially during the tournament arc, it's all like you have to book 3 holidays at once within like 3 months, and it's like I'm fine financially, like I'm not destitute. But even during that sort of period from June to September, where it's just like tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament, and you have to book everything beforehand, pay for everything beforehand, and then again it's quite slow for you to be paid out, and then you get paid out less. It's definitely a bad thing, and I think it is something that Bandai should stay on top of, and just make sure that certainly going into next year, I would say, like this year, because again, like, probably no one foresaw the depreciation of the yen, but going forward, if they're just to say, like, look, these are the sort of factors that can influence it, and just be aware that it might not be the exact number that we put up. It's variable to a few things. Then
Yeah, I mean,
we'd probably be like, fair enough.
you can put it down to teething problems as well. You know, like this is like it's a new game. The prize money obviously was announced to be specifically exact amounts, but at the same time, it's like, you know, be a bit more transparent, Bandai. You know, if there is an issue like this, then just tell us. Just advise the players why it's happening, instead of players making their own assumptions, because everyone's, you know, people are angry, people are saying things, people are being like, oh, I'm not going to play tournaments if it's not clear how much I'm going to win. I think all they need to do is just be transparent with us and make sure that we're clued in. I think it's probably down to the yen being lower than it is. You know,
I think it just sets a bad precedent that this all happened, as Harry said, without any communication whatsoever. We all just got money, and it was just way less than what we just got money, and it was less than what we were told, and there was no communication until we were the ones who had to go and actually find out more reasoning why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really the only problem, I think. It's
not really acceptable, is it? When, you know, like Harry said, a lot of us are having to commit to multiple holidays. We've, you know, the dedicated player base has been dedicated, and we are all pushing the game for the company in respect. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a two-way thing, right? Like they need to make sure that it's clear so that the players have level expectations with this stuff. But yeah, Emmy, what about you? You finally on this question? I kind of answered my own question there, which is a bit
no, it's good. I think just to wrap it up, actually, I got my prize money for finalists for Glasgow when I was in Japan, and I was like, oh, that's great. You know, I can use this. But then I was like, wait, that's quite less than I expected, and then I saw the chat kicking off. I think just as you say, like, it doesn't matter what happened. Like, what matters is like how you communicate it, and you know how you approach the problem. So I think communication, good PR is key. You know, like obviously what they're saying is like what they're doing is giving prize money for like very little entry in terms of cost in certain cases, not considering the travel. But like that's not the point, right? Like you can't think, oh well, I'm lucky that I'm at least getting free money. It's not free money. Like we all put so much time and effort into it, right? And it's part of the reason why we play. So, you know, in challenges and unforeseen things happen, but again, it's just how you handle it. You know, just don't need to post it on their Twitter X account. Just send everyone an email, say, hey, heads up, this is gonna happen, we're extremely sorry, but this is how we need to handle this situation, that everyone knows. And maybe still some will complain, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, if you have that communication, I think that's the least that you can do. So hopefully now, like, they will, you know, let us know, and we'll like kind of like understand what is going on there, and we can continue like playing, going back to really just enjoying the game, and know what we can expect from the winnings. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the prize money shouldn't really be a focal point, but it just is in reality. You know, we're all competing for the same thing at the moment. But yeah, like I say, go on, Kieran.
Yeah, one thing I want to say, I think just to put it in perspective for some of the viewers who maybe aren't playing the game competitively. I mean, I think Harry, I think you won the largest amount post of the reductions being in place from your top 4 Pro Tour finish. I don't know if you can share how much you were supposed to get and how much you actually got.
I think I was meant to get $6,500, which was then received into my e-wallet as $6,150. So that's $350 gone right there. And then in the currency conversion from the e-wallet to my bank account, per dollar I lose 3p, 3 pennies. So I don't know the exact maths of all that, but yeah.
Yeah,
so
which can be a hotel stay or a trip, you know.
Oh yeah,
it is a fair bit. Yeah,
so that's a flight's
350
worth of money almost. To be fair,
Yeah.
That is,
for sure.
But
I will say on that as well, like, because with the launch event winnings, like this is more like a nice point, I guess, a counterbalance. Like the launch event, I split with my teammates, so like when I received that, it wasn't really like, oh cool, it was like, oh cool, yeah, let me split it with the boys, that's nice. Whereas the PT one is like the first one that I'm keeping, and I was just staring at the text for like a couple of days, just like a little school kid who's just got the golden ticket. I was like, wow, man, that's like 2 months salary or something.
Yeah.
Like it isn't nothing. I'm just there like, oh wow, like this is awesome. So thank you, Bandai. We aren't haters or anything. Like we are very appreciative of the fact that it is prized in this way.
yeah, I think it's more the effect it's having on the community that's our concern. You know, we don't want want the player base to be complaining about anything, especially financials. But yeah,
the prize money has to be like sacrosanct, I think, considering it's the big draw and you're putting a lot of advertising into it, how big the prize pool is and stuff. It's like you do kind of need to make those headliner asterisks known, because otherwise people will feel conned, even if they aren't conned, and it's just the sort of reality of anything.
Human nature, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, on that note, that's basically it for today. So thanks everyone for watching. We are 2 likes away from 100. So you need to get us to 100, guys, for the final episode next week. We are gonna plan something fun for next week. Some funny stuff and just general good times, I think. For
just to clarify, you said the final is not going to be the final, right? As in, like, we're not going to stop
of season 1, the final of season 1. We're planning to relaunch. We'll probably have a few weeks off over December to sort of collect ourselves, redesign the podcast, and maybe even in that time we might release some other material. Like Emmy's got interest in doing some things like deck profiles and stuff like that. So maybe we can diversify a bit and do something other than a podcast for a few weeks. But
from Pro Tour, because I'm gonna get Harry, like I'm gonna like convince him to come. We're definitely gonna make some content there, I'm sure.
All right. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and thank you guys as always. And we will see you guys next week. So peace.
See ya.
Bye.